In the globalized world of culinary exploration, urban Indians often find themselves on a quest for new flavors, seeking new smells and tastes of exotic ingredients, often imported from countries thousands of kilometers away. But if one were to look within their own geographical environment, they might find that everything they were looking for has been right under their noses the whole time.
Sabja. So when you're bored of doing like an Asian stir fry, you can do a stir fry with tomato sauce. You can do rice with that.
We are in Bengaluru at a culinary workshop that is aiming to teach urban populations cooking and a little more. A monthly affair, the Cooking with Friends workshop, as it is called, is an attempt to familiarize city dwellers with ingredients that could be found literally in their backyards, like cowpeas, moringa leaves, drumsticks, and green garlic. But those that most of us know nothing about.
I don't know much about native vegetables and indigenous food, moringa, cow beans, butter beans. I've never seen them in my life.
I would say I've probably seen them being used more on cooking shows. We've literally grown up on Western food.
Winged beans is something I'd not heard of at all, and even sword beans. There's so much of diversity in terms of the food that's grown in India.
Often vegetarian food is restricted to the alus and gobis and carrots and beans and onions and tomatoes at best. But how about the many gourds which are indigenous to India? How do you use that?
A lot of the produce you see in front of you is unfamiliar and different because this is what grows closest to us.
All the vegetables that you see here, being used by Chef Nayantara, have been sourced from nearby farms. They are organic, freshly harvested, and a speciality of the region. And helping bring farm-fresh, hyper-local produce to an upmarket restaurant in the heart of the city is Sputnik Farms, the ones behind the workshop. As a collective of smallholding farmers, Sputnik is trying to make heirloom crops, native varieties, and those that have been classics of the region more accessible to urban consumers.
Holding this open for you.
That's okay.
Sumit Kaur, founder and CEO of the collective, explains how their primary goal is to restructure the current food system into one which is more local and thereby more resilient.
The food system as we know it today is extremely exploitative and it's maximized for yields. But it isn't maximized or it isn't optimized for sustainability. We thought that through Sputnik Farms, we can try to create a more resilient and more sustainable kind of a food system where farmers get a fair share in the profits, consumers get to eat fresh food that has been grown using sustainable practices and is free from chemicals and pesticides.
How many of us really care to find out about the origins of our food? Whether it is hybridized or imported, how many thousand miles has it traveled to reach us? When was it even harvested? Apart from the carbon footprint of storing and transporting food grown halfway across the world, cultivating non-native crops itself is much more resource intensive, which means heavy water usage, excessive chemical input, and in the long run, soil erosion. When the demand for imported varieties is high, there is also the risk of undermining local economies and traditional farming practices. More than anyone else, it is the small-scale farmer who struggles the hardest. We caught up with Sheetal Patil from the School of Environmental Sustainability at the Indian Institute for Human Settlements to understand just how deep the fallout is when we choose not to eat local.
What is happening in today's urban dwellers is that they are distanced from where their food is grown. They don't know about how it is grown, who is growing them, how it is coming to their plates. These are the things which are really important, have really deep kind of implications on health of ecosystem and health of human beings also. Indigenous crops are evolved over centuries in certain localities. They are resistant to pests, they are resistant to diseases and any other kind of adverse climatic conditions in that locality. They also have deep roots where they can actually access the nutrient and water from the deeper soil depths actually.
About 1 hour from Bengaluru, we are on our way to the district of Chikkaballapur, where 2/3 of its rural population constitutes small and marginal farmers. Sputnik so far has collaborated with about 5 such farmers from the district and another 200 from across the rest of Karnataka. The aim is to help them overcome challenges like low capital, limited market access, and climate change. Gauramma is part of the collective. A few days before the Bengaluru workshop, Chef Nayantara joined us to pay her a visit on her 2-acre farm to witness firsthand what it takes to grow native crops using native techniques alone.
2012ರಲ್ಲಿ ಭೂಮಿ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ 16ರಲ್ಲಿ ಭೂಮಿ ಸರಿ ಹೋಯ್ತು. ಈಗ ಫುಲ್ಲು ಸಾವಯವ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಒಂದು 20-30 ಥರ ಬೆಳೆ ಇಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಬೆಳೆ ಇಡಲ್ಲ ನಾವು. ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ 2 ತಿಂಗಳ ಬೆಳೆ, 3 ತಿಂಗಳ ಬೆಳೆ, 6 ತಿಂಗಳ ಬೆಳೆ ಮತ್ತು 1.5 ತಿಂಗಳದ ಬೆಳೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಸೊಪ್ಪುಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಮೂಲಿ ಸೊಪ್ಪುಗಳು 15 ದಿವಸಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸರಿ ರೊಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ.
Gauramma engages in multi-layer farming, a type of polyculture that involves growing multiple crops in a single area. She grows beans, pulses, chilies, vegetables like brinjal, okra, greens, onions, radish, and more. She experiments with various permutations based on the concept of companion planting and the symbiotic relationship between plants. The remains from one crop, for example, is used as fertilizer for another, or the properties of one plant is used to deter pests from another. Not far from Gauramma's farm are Kiran and his brother Arun, who have been using the Zero Budget Natural Farming or ZBNF method since 2012. They primarily grow Bangalore blue grapes, which got a GI tag from the Government of India in 2013.
ಯಾಕೆ ಇದು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಬ್ಲೂ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗು ಅಂದರೆ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್ ಒಂದು 60 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬೆಳೆಯೋಕ್ಕಾಗೋವಂಥ ಒಂದು ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಪರಿಸರ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಈ ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿನ ಫೈನಾಗಿ ಬೆಳಿಬೋದು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಬೆಳಿಬೋದು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ಸು ವಿಟಮಿನ್ಸು ಯಥೇಚ್ಛವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ರೀಜನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿಗೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಬ್ಲೂ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಇದು ಬೆಳಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತೋದ್ರೂ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಬರೋಲ್ಲ, ಬಂದ್ರೂ ಬೀಜ ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆ ಬಂದುಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಥರ ತುಂಬ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಆದರೆ ಬೆಳೆಯೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ರೇಡಿಯಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆಯೋದು, ಈ ರೇಡಿಯಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆದಿರೋದನ್ನು ತಿನ್ನೋದು ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ದೃಷ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ. ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇದು ಕೌಡಂಗು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ ರಾ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲು, ಕೌಡಂಗು ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕೌಯೂರಿನು.
Kiran has been using natural fertilizers like Jeevamrut, a fermented mixture of cow dung, cow urine, flour and jaggery, to restore his land that had earlier deteriorated because of extensive chemical farming.
ಇದು ಗೊಬ್ಬರ ಸರ್, ಗೊಬ್ಬರನೂ ಮಣ್ಣು. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ವೈಟ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಮೇಡಮ್ ನೀವು ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ವೈಟ್ ರೂಟ್ಸು ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ರೂಟ್ಸು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ಮಲ್ಟಿ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಿಟ್ ರೋಟನ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರಿ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಎಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿದೆ.
He says the decision to use ZBNF has not only impacted the health of his family, but will also help those who buy from him.
ಜನನೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ತುಂಬ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು. 20 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗೆ ಹಣ್ಣು ಸಿಕ್ತು, 20 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗೆ ತರಕಾರಿ ಸಿಕ್ತು ಅಂತ ಅದನ್ನು ತಿಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟು 5-6 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಬಂದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು 50 ಲಕ್ಷ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡೋ ಬದಲು ಈಗ ತಿನ್ನೋ ಊಟನೇ ವಿಷಮುಕ್ತ ಆಹಾರ, ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಕ್ ಫುಡ್ ನೀವು ಈಗ 20 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಅಲ್ಲ 50 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಕಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆದಿರೋದು ZBNF ಮೆಥಡಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆದಿರೋದು ತಗೊಂಡು ತಿಂದರೆ ಆಗ ನೀವು ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲಿಗೆ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡೋದಿರಲ್ಲ. ಆಗ ನೀವು ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲಿಗೆ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ನೀವು ಬದುಕ್ತೀರಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಭೂಮಿ ಉಳಿಬೇಕು, ಜನ ಉಳಿಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ZBNF ಆಗಲಿ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಕ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಮುಂದಿನ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಗೆ ನಾವೇನಾನ ಕೊಟ್ಟೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಭೂಮಿನ ಕೊಟ್ಟೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾವಂತೂ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ನಾವೇನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಿ ಏನು ಕೊಡಲ್ಲೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಮುಂದೆ ಅಂತೂ ಅವ್ರಿಗೊಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಭೂಮಿ ಅಂತೂ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೋದ್ರೆ ಆ ಭೂಮಿನಲ್ಲೇ ಅವ್ರು ಬಂಗಾರ ದುಡ್ಕೊತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ಇದೆ.
Through its subscription service, where consumers can subscribe to 4 boxes of vegetables and fruits a month, Sputnik is trying to ensure a steady source of income for their collaborative farmers. Sputnik also procures from farmers at a marked up price over the Hopcoms, which is the standard used in Karnataka, to determine produce prices, while guaranteeing them a minimum price. Sumit confirms that about 40 to 50% of the farm's overall operational cost is set aside for farmer procurements.
The first benefit that farmers observe or the farmers get by working with us is an increase or a change in their cash flow. We try to create almost something like a portfolio of vegetables for each of our farmers, where they grow at least 5 varieties of crops at any given point in time. And what this ensures is that farmers get income on a weekly basis. The other benefit that they get is, of course, the fact that we give them the marketing connects, so they can focus on production and they can do what they're good at, and we try to help them by giving them information of what kind of vegetables they can grow, not just from a consumer perspective but also from the perspective of ecology, what is better for soil health, what is better to be grown according to seasons, etc.
Much of our aspirational eating comes from Western influences. What often drives this is the belief that anything imported must have a higher value than what is locally and easily available. Back at the workshop, Chef Nayantara, who is also a nutritionist, tells us how it is her constant endeavor to include more and more local, organic ingredients in her food.
These are completely natural farms where no chemicals are used. Yeah, really looking forward to get this started. Let's grab our seats and then we'll get to it. The way we absorb nutrition is deeply affected by how local our produce is. There is a lot of wisdom in the fact that the more you eat local food, the better it is for your body. That is not just random saying. There is science to prove that. Epigenetics as an entire field of study talks about the fact that the more you eat the food you were genetically meant to eat or generationally meant to eat, the better it is for your body. So the more we delve deeper into our own roots and look for ingredients around us, the better it is for our long-term health.
These are local avocados though.
So the next time you come across avocados or blueberries at the neighborhood grocery store, take a moment.
After this we're
Ask the right questions, and you should soon be on your way to making the right food choices.
I never really, I never really thought about who's selling my vegetables. I used to just buy them because I need it. It's a need-based thing. It's a necessity. But when you also find out about the story behind the vegetables, like, ethically sourced or like fair markup prices, fair margins, and like the plight of the farmers. So when I hear people like Sputnik Farms are actually doing it right or are actually doing it in a way that gives back to the farmers as well, you become more conscious of your buying decision with vegetables. So that's how my decision making in vegetables have changed. Like, I want to buy it from people who are doing it the right way. I hope they keep doing this because it's not only like a cooking event, it's also like educating yourself and making yourself aware about Indian vegetables and Indian indigenous ingredients and how like farmers actually work.
Thanks for watching Eco India. If you like the story, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Scroll.in on YouTube.